science-based principles and tools to measure and test homes, and you treat them as a interconnected thing, so that they're all the systems work together, and you can achieve better results by looking at the house as a system.
Welcome to Home Green Homes podcast. I am Izumi Tanaka, a green realtor and the host of the show. Dan Thomsen, owner and founder of Building Doctors in Los Angeles, is my guest today. While he built his business of comprehensive service to improve home performances, he has a variety of credentials in the field of building science and building performance, and also currently serving on the board of Efficiency First California and member of the steering committee for Tech Clean California. His passion for improving the energy efficiency of existing homes is quite palpable. I found his journey of getting to where he is today as a building performance specialist is very enlightening as well. Please enjoy my conversation with Dan. So, Dan, thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. So if you could just start by telling me briefly about who you are and your background.
So my name is Dan Thomsen. I have a undergraduate degree from the School of Forestry. I wanted to be a national park ranger growing up. Then I got my master's degree in Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Management.
Wow.
I was flipping homes here in Los Angeles for 10 years, and then the real estate world collapsed in 2008. When I put my last house on the market the same day Washington Mutual declared bankruptcy. It was a rough day. God, it was a rough day. Yeah. Lost a ton of money, and then I was trying to figure out what am I going to do for a living. And then I went to this thing called the Go Green Expo in the LA Convention Center, and started walking the floor, just trying to get a motivation or trying to get a feel for what was going on. The world those are crazy times, because nobody knew what was going on. The real estate, not only the real estate market, but the financial market, everything was kind of in a spiral. Walked the floor, met a wonderful woman that had said, "Oh, you should be an energy auditor or a Greenpoint Raider, and there's a class coming up down in Orange County." And I got that information, and then I was walking around a little bit later, and Ed Begley Jr. happened to be the keynote speaker of this convention, the Go Green convention, and I've always been a big fan of his. He's a great environmentalist. He's been fighting the good fight for a long time. So I stayed late to watch him give the talk, and this was 2 days after President Obama had become president.
Wow.
And so everybody asked a few questions, and then somebody said, "Oh, what would you do if you had 10 minutes with President Obama?" And he'd go, "I'd tell him that everybody should get a home energy audit." And he tells the story that a local company had came to him and said, "Hey, can we do an audit on your home?" And he tells the story that I'm Mr. Green, you're not going to find anything wrong, but we use all these great advanced tools that were building science-based tools to test things, and they discovered a bunch of things that was wrong with his house. And he says, "Hey, it would be really great. It's a really great way to quantify when you have problems in your home." And then on that night, I went home, and then on the Jon Stewart show, the Daily Show, they played a clip of Katie Couric interviewing new President Barack Obama, and he the quote was like, "Katie, we're going to weatherize every home. We're going to put people back to work. We're going to be less dependent on countries that don't like us so much, and lower people's bills." He called it the threefer, and I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be the next big thing." I took that class. It happened to be a week later or whatever it was down in Orange County, and I took the class, and then I talked to the teacher, and he goes, "Yeah, you can do the audit." He goes, "But you really want to be a contractor, just doing the work, just doing the ratings. You really can't make a business out of it." And there happened to be a class coming up in Northern California, and I called to get into the class, there was a bunch of ARA funding money, American Recovery Act, that they were trying to stimulate the economy that was coming down the pike. I went to a local meeting, and somebody said in the back of the room, like, "Oh, we're like house doctors," and I swear to you, in that millisecond, I'd always had a set of doctor scrubs as my backup Halloween costume. And I at that second, I was like, wait, we could all wear doctor scrubs as we go checking the houses. And so I went home that night and went on GoDaddy, and I researched everything with the word doctors in it. And I still own like 200 different .coms of, domicile doctors, house surgeons, house medics, level, every version of it to kind of protect the brand. And then I bought, they wanted a bunch of money for buildingdoctors.com. They wanted like $10,000. So I bought thebuildingdoctors.com, started the whole thing. The class that was available, that they said it was all waitlisted already. There were no classes for another year down here in Southern California. But the lady said, listen, there's usually a couple people that don't show up if you want to drive up to waitlist on it. And I drove up there. I remember I was butt broke. I gotten completely wiped out from the real estate collapse. I sold my last house for a $400,000 loss after working on it for a year and a half. It was horrible. And then I went up and got into the class. I got to the second to the last seat that was in there. And so I got a jump on anybody else that was doing it down here in Southern California. Took the classes, and just haven't really looked back. I've always been a science nerd. And so, combining building science and construction, it just really fit, and so that was a long-winded story. So that's how Building Doctors came about.
What a great story, though.
Building science-based principles and tools to measure and test homes, and you treat them as a interconnected thing, so that they're all the systems work together, and you can achieve better results by looking at the house as a system. The problem that we have in the construction world is that contractors don't talk to each other. So drywall guys do one thing, plumbers do one thing, electricians do another. Everybody kind of messes up their own stuff, and they don't really understand how to make things work all together as a system. So this new industry, being what's called a home performance contractor, we just understand how everything works better together, and we can achieve better results, make people more comfortable, breathing better air, healthier homes that are safer and that are actually more valuable.
It's actually a really incredible story, Dan. I'm so glad I heard this, because I didn't know anything about your background. I just kind of knew what you do, but yeah. So tell me what Building Doctors do.
So we usually start with a comprehensive energy audit. So we have all these building science-based tools. A big thing is called the blower door, which is an adjustable frame that goes in an exterior door, and then we have a fan in there, and then we fill up the house full of air, and then we have a gauge, a manometer gauge, where we can read the pressure, where you can determine what the overall leakage factor is by pressure versus what the size of the hole is in the ring. And then that determines where how much air is leaking in and out of your home.
Yes.
And then while we have it set up in that scenario, we take an infrared camera and we go around and we look at ceilings, we look at walls, we can look at air leakage points, and we can determine all these different things with it. I call that like getting the X-ray on your thing. That's the name Building Doctors kind of fits, because you're literally getting a physical on your home that you buy the most expensive thing you're ever going to buy in your lifetime, and you don't know anything about it, and most people have never been in their crawl spaces, they haven't been in their attics, that they don't really know what's going on with it. So we measure and test everything, that it sets the baseline for what the current conditions are. And then we use energy modeling software where we put in all the current scenarios, lack of insulation, air leakage factors. We also use a thing called a duct blaster that determines how much air is leaking in and out of your ducts, and quantify all that. And then we put in that energy model what the current scenarios are. And then we can say, okay, if we insulate this, put in a more efficient piece of equipment, put in a smaller HVAC system, but with better design ducts and better airflow, blah, 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 what would be the modeled energy reduction? And then we we put all that together in a report. We call it, we call it the treatment plan,
Mm-hmm.
and for what is the right thing to do for your home. And a lot of it, we get away from preconceived notions of what you've been conditioned to listen to on the radio of changing your windows and changing your doors, which
Mm-hmm.
is just not true,
Mm-hmm.
especially in our climate zone. And then we teach our homeowners from a building science point of view where they're losing energy, where they're wasting it, where their money's best well spent. And then we come up with our treatment plan. Okay, let's insulate the walls. Let's get rid of this old gas furnace. Put in a heat pump, all electric HVAC systems that are half the size, but are more comfortable than they've ever been with it. And we do the work, and then after the work is done, we do that same energy audit that we started out with.
Mm-hmm.
We do after we're done. It's called the test out energy audit, so that we can document the exact improvements that are done in
Mm-hmm.
the home. And I'll let your listeners in on a little secret that people lie and contractors lie, but the numbers don't lie.
Right.
So, I can tell you exactly how much air leakage we've reduced in the home, what the thermal load we've reduced it to, blah, 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 all these different things. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all third party verifiable. There's uh, one of our certifications is called the BPI, Building Performance Institute.
Mm-hmm.
Certifications of, they have standards of how you test a home, and health and safety things, and natural air changes per hour, and blah, blah, blah. All those
Mm-hmm.
factors that we adhere to. Yeah. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really great. So we have ridiculously happy homeowners, that have never been more comfortable in their home, that are using less energy, they're breathing better air. It's their home is safer. We've made their home more valuable. Cal Berkeley and UCLA did a white paper that showed
Mm-hmm.
that homes with these energy efficiency improvements and these certifications actually appraised 9% higher than ones without. And then on top of it, at the very end, we also put solar towards the end, right? So we like to say reduce before you produce, reduce the load on your home before you start producing it up on your rooftop. And then you put in the right size system. You don't have to put in an oversized system. So if we cut the usage of energy down on this house, then we can power the house next door, and so on and so forth, and keep ahead of the game. If you've noticed, we really haven't any brownouts or blackouts in the past few years,
Right.
because we're reducing the energy usage on the existing homes. Energy code in California, we've got the best in the nation for new construction, but that
Mm-hmm.
didn't start until 1978.
Right.
So our business model is we focus in on the older homes, were built really well, but they're not insulated, no wall insulation, no attic, maybe attic insulation, but it's not doing really well. But leaky old homes with giant, oversized HVAC systems, and size it all correctly. Yeah. And we're
I,
also big advocates of electrification as well. So
mm-hmm.
getting Californians off of fossil fuels, it's switching to an all electric future,
Mm-hmm.
um, which you can't avoid. It's the way we're gonna go. I try to tell people, it's like, I don't care if you're pink, purple, gay, straight, Democrat, Republican. There's a limited amount of resources in the ground, and that bright shiny thing is going to be coming out pretty much every day for the next couple billion years. We need to reuse that and capture that and power our home. So
Yeah.
every home is going to have an electric car in 5-10 years. Every house is going to have an heat pump HVAC system. It's the gas appliances and fossil fuels. It's a limited resource, but I want to put the gas company out of business as soon as possible.
It's actually quite impressive, the scope of services that you offer, all the way from energy audit to installing solar panels. You do comprehensive work.
Soup to
And
nuts. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
What was the one
yeah.
saying I was trying to come up? You're in charge of your own personal energy in your home. Let building documents
Mm-hmm.
take care of the rest of it.
Oh,
Like
that's
cutting the
amazing.
bills down, and then putting a little solar array up on the
Mm-hmm.
top and sizing everything correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I actually hired you to do a blower door test on a
Yep.
listing I had. That was a
Yep.
flip, right?
Yep.
And you said 9% on the based on the study, but the certification I used was Pearl certification, and their study shows 4 to 15%.
It varies, right? Depends on the home, right? If it's
exactly.
What's climate zone, what's the wind orientation around it? If it's
Mm-hmm.
a valley, if it's 2-story, 1-story, there's a bunch of different factors.
Right. So who actually hire you? Is it mostly homeowners?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we get the occasional renter that wants to be breathing in or breathing better air and what have you, or they have comfort issues, or dealing with a landlord that hasn't done any stuff that does right in their home. But yeah, typically homeowners.
Yeah, but
there's big stuff in multifamily. I mean, everybody can use it. Any older homes that are just not really insulated and very, very leaky would greatly benefit from the building science points of view. Yeah.
And do you know what actually prompts them to contact you? Because I mean, that's the thing that most people are not aware of what you do.
Right. So
Unless
I call it
somebody
the
tells
pain
you.
points, right? So
Yeah.
if you get somebody that calls that because, oh my God, they got a really big giant electric bill or a big gas bill, or they saw an environmental crisis, when the big oil spill happened in the Gulf, they're like, hey, I want to do my part of getting off of fossil fuels. Or if it's, hey, I can't in the summertime, I can't go to the second floor of my house because the bedroom is just too crazy hot. Or every time the furnace kicks on, my kids' eyes tear up. Whatever that reason may be.
Yeah.
We call it those pain points, and we can solve all those problems with it. Yeah.
Right. That's amazing. So all the things that you were talking about, weatherization and electrifying everything, we now have this thing called Inflation Reduction Act.
IRA, yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yeah, so the Biden administration, our current administration, is big advocate for it. And of course, California was ahead of the bell curve already. We had a program called Tech Clean California, where they're dangling the carrot of thousands of dollars of getting people off of furnaces, getting their heating of their home off of fossil fuels, and then their water heating, because it's really easy to keep that. Those are big things to do. Yeah. So that
Now,
it's, again, yeah.
Right. So the tax credit was already available this year, 2023, but the rebate part is what I've been really anxiously waiting for. And do you know the
I was just on a webinar
status?
today about it. It's realistically not going to roll out until mid 2024.
Mid 24. I
That's
was
where the
hoping it'd
checks
be
will start rolling
Q1.
out. So,
Ah,
but you'll still be eligible. We
right.
just confirmed that any of the work that was done actually after the IRA law was signed into effect, we just need to figure out what the process is to do it. With depending upon what the contract, I'm on the steering committee for it, so I'm not worried about us qualifying for it. But I would definitely be concerned if you use a contractor that isn't aware of the program and they don't do the steps that need to be done. Then I don't think you'd be qualified. I'll email it to you.
Yes.
What the pre-qualification steps are, so that they can go back retroactively. Yeah.
Pre-qualifications for the contractors or the homeowners?
Both. It's what needs to be done. There's language that needs to be in the contract. You need to show that there's going to be an energy reduction. You need to use modeling software. You need to be very vocal with the homeowners to say, hey, these are the options, all the stuff that we do in our audit, but definitely, not all contractors are up to speed about what's the best way to do it.
Right. So I know that each state has to set it all up. And so do you think that California is going to be one of the first states?
Oh, we are. Yeah, we already have existing programs, and they're trying to, instead of reinventing the wheel, they're trying to figure out how can they piggyback, like on the Tech Clean California, which is already statewide. That's what they're working on. It's just not rolling out as quickly as they thought. We'd all hoped that it would be rolling out by the third quarter of this year. Not even close. Yeah. And we're also dealing with the government, and to move a big monstrous thing like that takes time. Each state needs to come up with their own program. IRS I think it was just 2 weeks ago, they just did a release saying about, this is what the rules are. Now that you know the rules, how are they going to implement the state programs? What are the quality control aspects going to be? blah, 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 a whole bunch of different steps.
Yeah.
They got to hire folks, and then they got to figure out how do they implement it, who's going to be writing the check, how are they going to write the checks? Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a pain, but we'll jump through the things that what we can. But the tax incentives are already active,
Right. Exactly.
and you can break up measures over a couple years. Like we have a client that we're doing some of the work next week, and then we're going to do more week into 2024, so they can write off wall insulation this year and then attic insulation next year, whatever the write-off for.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you think this IRA is going to do for us, for the homeowners, for the environment? What is your hope that this IRA is going to accomplish?
Well, I mean, just people talking about it is a great thing, right? The word electrification wasn't on anybody's mind or on their tongue at all. So the conversation about heat pumps, dispelling some of the myths about heat pumps, right? There was a big problem with there were some crappier models that were out 20, 30 years ago, and they didn't do a great job. And also when you have guys and gals that don't know how to install them, you get a bad rap, so it's like, oh, they're crap. Like, there's heat that people say, oh, they don't work well in cold weather. Well, at the Arctic Circle in the test labs, they use heat pumps to warm their place there, and that's as cold as you get, So those are cold weather heat pumps. They're different design, but we don't need those here in Southern California. But anything to get the conversation going about where we need to go as a future, as a nation. We don't need to be drilling to try to dig a little bit more of oil out of the ground. I call it's like, if you have a towel and you're trying to wring, a little bit of the moisture of the towel. Well, we've done that with fracking, right? And so we can turn the towel just a little bit tighter, and we're squeezing a little bit more stuff out of the earth. But at some point, it's going to be kaput. So again, that bright shiny thing is going to come out pretty much every day for the next, however many generations. Let's figure out how to capture that and be the talk for it. So to me, to talk to it, and anybody, if we can help offset the cost a little bit, it's great. In my humble opinion, though, the reality that the IRA, they're really trying to bring in lower income folks and middle income folks.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, you can't own a home, especially here in Southern California, and be considered low income. Sorry, unless you inherited it from somebody. But the average home here is what, $800,000 here in LA County.
Well,
I mean, qualify for an $800,000 loan, you've got to make so much money that you're not going to be able to get the highest amount of incentives. Right? But so be it. If you can still get a couple $1,000 and you're doing the right thing for the planet and doing it for your own, self, health and all these other things, again, it's still a win-win situation all around.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. So what areas do you usually cover building doctors? Just Los Angeles, or how much farther out of LA do you go?
We're trying to, when I first started, I went anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That somebody that, because you're kind of hungry for business and you want to learn and you get experience from being in different buildings. Right. Going down to San Diego, going up to Santa Barbara and stuff.
Wow.
But with gas prices the way they are, up to $5-6 a gallon, we got rid of our diesel vehicles and we switched over to compressed natural gas trucks.
Oh wow.
Which I think is the step before it. There aren't good electric trucks out there yet. That'll be the next the next step to it, I think. But we're trying to keep our circle a little bit tighter, just because
I see.
How it is commuting in Los. We're doing a job in Santa Monica right now, and it took me an hour and 40 minutes to get back to the office.
I know.
Horrible, yeah. Luckily,
hour and 45 from Santa Monica to, you're in Mid City, right?
Well, that's our thing, but we have a shop now on the east side of LA near Cal State LA.
Yeah.
So we got to cross downtown. It's the opposing traffic of it all. Yeah. So we're trying to keep our circle tight. Yeah, it can be a nightmare. Yeah, it can be a nightmare. But we we try to help people out best we can and steer people in the direction of how we can help them out. But the longer we're also a little bit pickier of who we hire and
Mm-hmm.
who we fire as a customer now, just because
Right.
we know who's a good fit and who's not.
I see.
But we
I
love
see.
people that are data oriented,
Mm-hmm.
doctors and engineers and all these people
Mm-hmm.
that do stuff because we can kill them with data and say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
listen, this is what we've done, and there's we're really trying to be super. We're numbers people here, and
Mm-hmm.
we try to be really transparent of like, hey, this is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what's going to happen, and when we're drilling and filling your walls, it's a week of hell for a lifetime of comfort. We got to drill
Yeah.
holes all over, put tubes down your walls, fill it up. There's
Yeah,
gonna be mess. You can't have a perfectly clean house when you're
that's
in a
right.
construction thing. But after the 2 week process, we brag that we're multitasking kings. That we've got somebody in the attic, vacuuming it out while somebody's in the crawl space air sealing it,
Mm-hmm.
while the other guys are moving the HVAC system, and so we're always doing stuff
Yeah.
concurrently.
Yeah.
While other contractors, they have to bring in 4 different crews to do different
Right.
things, and
Right.
they're on their schedule, and that's why
Yeah.
it's really worked really well for us.
Yeah.
Just because we do everything in house.
I love that. So how can people find you?
Buildingdoctors.com is our website.
Okay.
Is the
And
best way. Uh,
yes.
and yeah, take a look at that. I try to educate people as much. That's part of the best that we do is we love our customers with our, people get after the energy audit, they get a 50, 60 page plus report, but it's actually an easy read because it tells everybody all the different systems in their house and
Right.
where they're wasting energy, where the health and safety aspects and things that are in theirs, and where their money's best well spent.
Right. I
Yeah.
I I love your website. It's very informative and has a lot of great information, useful information. I hope
Yeah,
people
we,
can
we try
find
to, and
you.
I teach classes on this and
Oh,
at
good.
national conferences and stuff. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's always kind of fun to get in the know of what's going on and new things that are coming around the corner too. It's I absolutely love the business that we're in. Again, we've got we're at a 99% being of really happy customers because we don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a lot of crappy contractors that take advantage of people and don't do what they say. And
Yeah.
I like to sleep well at night. We try to do what we say we're going to do. We make mistakes, but we fix it.
Yeah.
But then we also give proven results too. Again,
Yeah.
we guarantee no more than a 3-degree temperature difference in any room or any floor on your home, which
Wow.
people just can't do. They're used
Yeah.
to 20-degree temperature stratification
Yeah.
in the top
Mm-hmm.
floors and downstairs, and
Yeah.
people that can't use the second floor of their house in the summertime because it's
Yeah.
just too hot. It's like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
we fix that. And
Yeah.
people like, oh my god, I can't believe how quiet it is and efficient, all those things. Yeah, and people's
Well,
bills. One of our videos, I remember this was way back more when it was gas stuff. He goes, we got a $20 gas bill, Dan. He goes, we've never had a $20 gas bill in our life. Where we got rid of the furnace stuff and things that was in there. So yeah.
well, I really appreciate the work you do. It's very it's unusual to find somebody like you, your company that do all that stuff. So I really appreciate it. So
Well, it's
thank you
also the
so much.
future, right? We're trying to get new
Yeah.
people in the
Mm-hmm.
industry. It's not easy. I mean, yeah,
Absolutely.
it's definitely not easy, and you have to understand building science is kind of neat to understand. But once you learn it, you can't unlearn it. Because when I was
Yeah.
flipping houses, I was like, oh, I did it wrong all these
Yeah.
times. Just putting insulation, like, oh, that's not the right thing to do, and oh, I made
Yeah.
these bad scenarios. And I don't think most people are evil. I think they're
Mm-hmm.
just not well informed of it. Like, okay, there's a better way to do things, and sizing of HVAC systems and how well it's designed and how it can be done. So, I like to talk, but I also like to educate when we do stuff. So,
Yeah.
and try to teach people as you go along. I think we can
Yeah.
be a better
Yeah.
world, better industry, and things like
Yeah.
that. So that's what's great about home performance is that we get rid of the crappy contractors because you have to be responsible for your numbers and your work
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
held accountable. And there's
Yeah.
not a lot of that in the construction work because they go on and they close up shop and move on to the next one, but not the stuff that we do. Yeah, that's why we
I
kind of have we got a really good reputation of
yeah.
we're honest and we do what we say we're going to do. Yeah,
I agree. Thank you so much, Dan. So
you're very
this
welcome.
was,
Yeah,
yeah, Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes podcast. Thank you so much.